Tonight we continue reasoning and proof with logical reasoning. We have inductive reasoning, which we're not going to talk about a lot. It's basically drawing a conclusion based on your own observations or examples. For example, if, I don't know, a teacher gave a test for the first 4 Fridays of the school year, you might draw the conclusion that therefore you're going to have a test every Friday, something like that. That would be an example of inductive reasoning. It's not very scientific, so we don't use it in math class. What we'll be using is what we call deductive reasoning, where we use facts, rules, definitions, properties of things in order to draw a conclusion. We have three basic types of deductive reasoning. We have the law of detachment, which basically says that if we start with a conditional, so this is our rule. So our conditional is if John is late making his car insurance payments, then he will be assessed a late fee of $50. That's our rule. And then we say that, well, the first part of that statement happened. So John paid his car insurance late. So if we can say those two things, then we can draw the conclusion. Therefore, the three dots, remember, is the symbol for therefore. The second part of the statement must be true, or the conclusion must be true. Therefore, John will be assessed a $50 late fee. The way this looks as a Venn diagram is a conditional statement is always written as kind of one circle nested within another because it's saying that every time John's late, so always when his car insurance payment is late, then he's assessed a fee. So this is an always type of relationship. So it's completely within the $50 fee circle. So anytime you have a conditional, it's always going to be the if part inside and the then part outside. So if John is late making his car payment, then he'll be assessed a $50 fee. And then John is inside the late payment. That's what we know. John paid his car insurance payment late. So we can assume since he's in the late circle, he's also completely within the $50 fee circle. So we can make the assumption that John will be assessed the late fee. That's what we call the law of detachment or direct reasoning. The second type is the law of contrapositive. This is also known as indirect reasoning, and it starts exactly the same. We're starting with a rule. We have the same rule, so you can kind of see the similarities here. But the second part of the statement where it differs is that now Q is false, or our conclusion is false. So John was not assessed a late fee. Since John was not assessed a late fee, that only happens if he's late making his car payment. So John was not late making his car payment because he was not assessed the late fee. Our Venn diagram would look the same. Okay, again, always if inside, then outside. And John, what we know about him is that he was not assessed a late fee, so he is outside both circles. So because he's outside the $50 fee circle, he also therefore must be outside the late fees or the late payment circle. So therefore, John was not late making his car payment. The third and final type of deductive reasoning is what we call the law of syllogism. The law of syllogism, just like the other two, starts the same. We are given our rule. If John is late making his car insurance payment, then he will be assessed a late fee. The second part then gives us a second rule on top of that. That second rule starts with our conclusion. If John is assessed a late fee of $50, then, and now we have a new event that will happen, he will need to borrow money from his parents. This is the only type of reasoning that uses two conditional statements. Okay, so we can conclude then that therefore, if John is late making his car insurance payment, then he will need to borrow money from his parents. So we kind of cut out the middleman, the part that's repeated. Because, again, our Venn diagram looks the same to start out, but then we have this third circle that he'll have to borrow money from his parents. So if he's late, then he is assessed a late fee. If he's assessed a late fee, he has to borrow money from his parents. So if he's late, he's going to have to borrow money. That is what we call transitive reasoning. If you have any questions on any of these, please bring them to class, and I will see you guys tomorrow.